It's tutorial corner! Setting up your game. First, we'll want to delete the default scenes folder. After that, we right-click and create a new folder and call it Game. Inside the Game folder, we'll create another folder and call it Scenes. Inside the Scenes folder, we'll create a new scene and name it Game. After that, open the Build Settings and drag the game scene into the list. After that, we open the game scene, select Don't Save, and then we'll create the player platform as a cube and name it Player. And then reset the transforms, scale the X to 3 or 5. After that, we will change the camera position and try to position the player platform at the right position that you want. For me, it's A at Y and -20 at Z. And we can also go to the game window and change the aspect ratio. After that, remember to save and save project just to be sure. We're done. Now for the explanation. So, the reason why we want to delete the default scene is because I just want to start my project on a clean blank slate, basically. If you want to make a game or any project in the matter, you have to be very, very organized, because when you're making a game, you will be eventually dealing with a lot of stuff, a lot of assets, a lot of files. So the more organized you are from the start, the less miserable your life will be in the future when making the game. So I like to arrange my folder as the game folder as the very top folder, and then group them as each of the function or player or enemy or things like that. We'll go into detail about that in the future. But for now, we are going to create a folder. To create a folder in Unity, you first have to right-click on the project window at the bottom there. Right-click, select Create, and then select Folder, and then you rename that folder. Now, this folder will also appear in the Windows Explorer, so you can actually navigate into this folder from your Windows. And about this project window at the bottom, where we are currently at, it's a window where you will put all of your assets in. So your character model, your textures, your music, your scripts, everything will be there. And then inside the game folder, as you can see, I'm creating another folder for the scenes. And then inside the scenes folder, I create a new scene. The way to create a scene is the same. You right click, select create, and then select scene, and then you name the scene. So a scene is basically, to put it simply, a scene is a stage in your game. It doesn't even have to be put inside the final game. It's basically, a scene is a place where you can arrange your game, you play around with your game. It's the room. So a scene can be like a stage 1, stage 2 scene, main menu scene, final credit scenes. It can also be a test scene where you can test all your stuff in it. And then we open the build settings here. So to open the build settings, you can use the shortcut left shift, and then the B key, and then it will open the build settings. The build settings is the settings where you can set up the final build of your game. As you can see, there are the platforms where you can select to for what platform your game will be. And then there's the build button at the bottom right screen there. That's what you will click to build the game later. And then there's the scenes in build. So the scenes in build, as I explained earlier, those will be the scenes that will be included in the build. So if you, for example, have a test scene, and you don't have to put that test scene into the scenes in build, if you don't want to. Another way to open the build settings is also from the edit menu on the top, and there's the build settings menu. So here we want to add the game scene into the game, into the final product of the game. So we drag in the game scene into the scenes in build so that it will appear in the final build of the game. And then we can just close that, and then we open the game scene. So the reason here why I press save is because it's asking if I want to save the sample scene that is currently open. So this sample scene is the default scene that you get whenever you start a new Unity project. It is a part of the scenes that we deleted earlier, so we don't want to save it. Now, if you see there in the hierarchy window at the left side, you can see that the name changed from sample scene to game. So that says that we are currently in the game scene. So the hierarchy window is where you can see the list of all the things that you currently have in the currently open scene. So currently we have a main camera object and a directional light object. So next we are going to create the player platform. To add an object into a scene, you can simply right click on the hierarchy window and then select what object you want to create. In this case, we are going to create a cube and then name it player. Now, as you can see, when we have the player object selected, the inspector window on the right becomes full of those texts, right? Now, the inspector window is the window that will show you the details of the currently selected object. As the name suggests, it inspects the current selected object. As you can see on the top, we have the player as the name. There's also the tag, layer, and all the stuff that we will cover later in the future. What we will currently want to focus now is the transform. So the transform here is a component that is currently attached to the player object. So a component is this modular functions, you can call it, that you can add to any objects in the scene that will change how the object will be behaving. So for example, the transform, the cube mesh filter, the mesh renderer, the box collider, all of these are each of them are components. So one object can have more than one component, multiple components. The transform component, it manages the currently selected objects transform, such as the position, rotation, and scale. So if you want, for example, to change the object scale, for example, then you go here. You change the scale of this transform. If you want to change the position, you change the position, and so on and so forth. So as you can see right now, the position is not 0, right? It has some those numbers. We want to put the player at the 0 position right now, because it's just easier to edit it while it's in the 0 position at the current state. And also because I want that to be the player's starting position in this stage. So to reset the position of the object, we can manually input the input 0 into the X, Y, and Z axis of the position. Oh, by the way, the X, Y, and Z axis are the axis in which the object is located in the 3D space. So you see those arrows at the cube that we have, the red arrow, green arrow, and blue arrow. Those are the axes that the cube has. And on the top right of the screen there you can see there's also the clones with similar color. As you can see, the X represents the red represents the X axis, the white represents the Y, the green represents the Y axis, and the blue represents the Z axis. So the Z here is the front, the X is the right, and Y is the up. And if you want to go left, back, or down, then it is the opposite of the current axis. You can input minus in there. Anyway, back to resetting position. Another way to reset the position is you can right click the transform component and then click reset. It will reset all the values in that component. As you can see now, the positions are all 0, rotation 0, scale 111. That is the default of this particular component. Be aware though, resetting it this way will reset all the rotation and scale as well. So if you only want to reset the position, you can manually input the numbers instead of using the reset function, just like now. You can also use the reset function in any other components, but they will do other things depending on the components that you're trying to reset. So now we are changing the scale of the platform, because as you know, in brick breaker games the platform is is white, so I changed the x-axis size of the cube into 5. So now, as you can see, the cube is no longer just a cube, it becomes now a rectangle. Okay, now I selected the main camera there. As you can see in the scene window at the center there, where everything is. The scene window, by the way, is the window where you can see where you can see your current scene, how it looks like and all that. So we are currently selecting the main camera. Now, whenever you select a camera object, a little window will pop up on the bottom right corner of the scene window there. It will show what the camera is looking right now. So whatever appears on the tiny window will be what the camera, how the camera see the world. And as you can see, the inspector to the right also changed all the details accordingly to what the camera, what components the camera currently has. So as you can see, I am currently trying to move the camera to position the player platform at the bottom side of the screen, right? I can do this by moving the camera, or I can also just move the player platform a bit down a bit, but I choose to move this to move the camera in this instance because the camera will just be there, right? It won't be moving at all, and but the player character, it will be moving, and it will also have little some interactions later with the balls and then the bricks and all that. It's just easier to deal with all these objects if the base of it is at the center of the world, which is 0, 0, 0, x0, y0, and z0. So to move the position of an object from on the scene window, of course you can change the position from the transform component, but you can also use those arrows that appears on the object to move it. It's actually easier to do it this way because, well, you don't actually have to know what the numbers are you want to, but you can just move it to where you want simply from visual. So here I'm moving it up a bit, and then here I'm moving it along the z-axis and then along the y-axis again to change the distance of the camera to the player and the height. Okay, so now that I have the rough location that I want where the camera is, it's a good idea to to round up the position number, because as you can see currently at the position component, the camera is located at 7 point something along the y-axis, 7.6 along the y-axis, and minus 19.94 along the z-axis. I want those numbers to be rounded, so I will change the y to 8 and then the z to minus 20. Okay, now what I just did there, I just clicked the game tab beside the scene tab there, and then now we are looking at the game window. So the game window is where we will be testing our game, and this is what the whatever appears here in the game window is what will appear in the final product of our game. I just click the free aspect button there, and it shows me the list of a lot of resolutions. So the free aspects here is what this is actually the resolution that we want our game window to show. So we can select the Full HD resolution or 16:9 aspect resolution or A4, and as you can see at the bottom, you can select any of these. It doesn't really affect how the game it doesn't really affect how it is built in the final game, but it is always a good idea to change this resolution into the final resolution you want your game to be in. So in this case, I'm selecting 16 by 9 aspect, so you can see that it changed. And now, as you notice, there are two black bars that appear on the side of the game window, which means the part where it's not dark is suddenly the game that we are going to see. Now I am going to save the progress that we have made so far. So the way to save in Unity, you can save it the usual way by pressing Control S, but you can also use it save by clicking the File button in the menu bar on the top left part of the screen, and then select Save, and then do that again, and then select Save Project. So the first save is to save the scene itself, and the second one is to save the project as a whole. There will be things that that you may be dealing with that isn't exactly in the scene, but you had to change it. Those things have to be saved as well. So the save project is to save those things. So there you have it. It is the explanation of how I set up the starting scene of the Brick Breaker game. Hope that was helpful. And in the next part, we are going to make the player platform be able to move around. So stay tuned for that one. For now, thank you so much for watching and good luck. Asma.